The security guard grabbed 6-year-old Ethan by his torn collar and hurled him onto the scorching concrete. "Filthy little rat," the guard spat. "Show your face here again and I'll break your legs." The wealthy woman behind him laughed, actually laughed, as she watched the child's knees split open on the pavement. "That's what happens to beggars," she sneered, stepping over his bleeding body like he was garbage. Ethan didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just lay there, blood pooling beneath his small hands, whispering the same words over and over. "Mama needs food. I have to get up. Mama needs food." 3 weeks from this moment, 4 black SUVs would screech to a halt in front of a tiny food stand. And the people inside those vehicles would change everything. But first, let me tell you how we got there. Before we dive into this incredible story, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. Watch until the very end, because I promise you what happens will shake you to your core. And drop a comment telling me which city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story of hope and redemption can travel. Now let me introduce you to Maya, to Ethan, and to a love that was shattered 7 years ago. Ethan pushed himself up from the concrete. His palms were raw. His knees were bleeding through his worn pants. A crowd had gathered, but nobody helped. They just watched. Some even took out their phones to record. "Look at that!" A teenager laughed, pointing her camera at him. "Little homeless kid got what he deserved." Ethan didn't look at her. He couldn't afford to feel shame. Shame was a luxury for people who had food in their stomachs. He limped away from the shopping center, leaving a trail of small, bloody footprints behind him. His stomach cramped so hard he had to stop walking. He pressed his hand against his belly and took a shaky breath. When was the last time he ate? Yesterday morning, numbered the day before. His mother had given him her last piece of bread, pretending she wasn't hungry. "I already ate." She had lied, her voice so weak he could barely hear it. "This is for you, baby." He had eaten it because he knew she would cry if he refused, but he also knew the truth. She hadn't eaten in 3 days. Ethan started walking again. The sun was brutal. His throat was dry. His head felt light and strange, but he kept moving because stopping meant giving up, and giving up meant his mother would die. He approached a man eating a hot dog outside a convenience store. "Sir," Ethan said quietly, "please, I'm hungry. Can you help me?" The man looked down at him with disgust. "Get a job." "I'm 6. "Then tell your parents to get a job." The man shoved the last bite of hot dog into his mouth and walked away. Ethan watched him go. He wanted to scream that his mother was dying. He wanted to explain that his father had abandoned them before he was born. He wanted to tell someone, anyone, that he was just a child trying to survive, but nobody cared. He had learned that lesson 1,000 times. He kept walking. A woman came out of a grocery store pushing a cart overflowing with food. Bags of chips, boxes of cereal, fresh fruit, bottled water. More food than Ethan had seen in months. "Ma'am," he called out, hurrying toward her. "Please, ma'am. My mother is sick. She hasn't eaten in days. Could you spare anything? Even just a piece of bread?" The woman stopped. She looked at him, and for 1 second, Ethan thought he saw compassion in her eyes. Then her face hardened. "How do I know you're not lying?" she demanded. "How do I know you don't have parents around the corner waiting to rob me?" "I'm not lying, ma'am. My mother is really sick. She can't walk. She can't work. I'm all she has." "That's what they all say." The woman gripped her cart tighter. "You people disgust me, using children to scam honest folks. Get away from me before I call security." "Please, ma'am. Just one apple. Just one." "Security." Ethan turned and ran. He ran until his lungs burned and his legs gave out. He collapsed behind a dumpster in an alley, gasping for air, his small body shaking. He didn't cry. Crying used up energy he didn't have. Instead, he closed his eyes and thought about his mother. Grace Carter had been beautiful once. Strong. Full of life. She used to sing while she cooked breakfast. She used to dance with Ethan in the living room of their small apartment. She used to laugh so hard that tears would stream down her face. Now she couldn't even lift her head. Ethan remembered the day everything changed. He was 4 years old. His mother had collapsed in the kitchen. He had found her on the floor unconscious, and he had screamed and screamed until a neighbor finally came. The hospital, the tests, the doctor's grim face. "Ms. Carter, your kidneys are failing. You need dialysis immediately, twice a week minimum, and eventually you'll need a transplant." "How much will that cost?" The doctor had paused. "Without insurance. The dialysis alone will be several $1,000s a month. The transplant, we're talking hundreds of thousands." Ethan remembered his mother's face when she heard those numbers. Something inside her had broken. She tried. God, she tried so hard. She sold her store. She sold their furniture. She sold her grandmother's jewelry. She sold everything except the one thing she refused to part with: a small photograph of a man Ethan had never met. "Who is that mama?" Ethan had asked once. His mother had held the photo to her chest and closed her eyes. "Someone I loved very much, baby. Someone who loved me too once." "Where is he now?" "I don't know. He left before you were born. He doesn't know you exist." "Did he leave because of me?" His mother had pulled him close, tears streaming down her face. "No, baby. No. He left before I even knew I was pregnant. It wasn't your fault. None of this is your fault." But Ethan wondered. Late at night, when his mother was sleeping and the warehouse was dark and cold, he wondered if his father would have stayed if Ethan had never existed. The money ran out faster than his mother could earn it. The apartment was gone. Then the motel room was gone. Then everything was gone. Now they lived in an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. A single room with a mattress on the concrete floor. No electricity, no running water, no heat. And his mother was dying. Ethan opened his eyes. He had rested long enough. The sun was starting to descend. He had maybe 2 more hours of daylight to find food. He pushed himself up and started walking again. Block after block. Rejection after rejection. A businessman told him to get lost. A young couple pretended not to see him. An elderly woman clutched her purse and hurried away like he was a threat. By late afternoon, Ethan had nothing. No food, no money, not even a kind word. His vision was getting blurry. His legs felt like they were filled with sand. He knew he needed to sit down before he collapsed. That's when he smelled it. Fried chicken, cornbread, something sweet, maybe pie. The smell wrapped around him like a warm blanket, and his stomach clenched so hard he almost fell to his knees. He looked up and saw a small food stand on the corner of a dusty street. Nothing fancy, just a counter, a grill, a few plastic chairs. A hand-painted sign read, "Maya's Kitchen." There was a wooden bench outside, empty, waiting. Ethan dragged himself over and sat down. He didn't ask for food. He didn't beg. He was too exhausted, too broken. He just sat there with his hands in his lap, staring at nothing, hoping someone would notice him. Inside the food stand, Maya Johnson was arguing with her landlord on the phone. "Mr. Patterson, I understand the rent is late, but I just need 2 more weeks. Business has been slow and—" "2 more weeks." The voice on the other end was cold. "You said that last month, Maya. I'm running out of patience." "I know, and I'm sorry. I'm doing everything I can. I'm working 16-hour days. I'm cutting costs everywhere possible. Please just give me a little more time." "You have until the end of the month. If I don't have my money by then, you're out. And don't think I won't find someone else to rent that spot. I've got people lined up." The line went dead. Maya lowered the phone and pressed her hand to her forehead. She was 25 years old, and she felt like she was drowning. 4 years ago, she had dropped out of nursing school when her grandmother got sick. Grandma Rose was the only family Maya had left. Her parents had died in a car accident when she was 12. Rose had raised her, loved her, sacrificed everything for her. When Rose got cancer, Maya didn't hesitate. She came home. She took care of her grandmother. She held her hand when the treatments failed. She was there at the end when Rose looked up at her with peaceful eyes and said, "I'm so proud of you, baby girl. You're going to do amazing things." That was 2 years ago. Since then, Maya had been alone. She used her grandmother's recipes to open this food stand. She worked every day from dawn until dark. She saved every penny. She dreamed of going back to school, getting her nursing degree, building a life her grandmother would be proud of. But the dream kept slipping further away. Rent was due. Supplies cost more every month. Customers were fewer. And now her landlord was threatening to shut her down. "Pull yourself together, Maya," she whispered to herself. "Grandma didn't raise a quitter." She grabbed a rag and walked outside to wipe down the counter. That's when she noticed him. A little boy, sitting on her bench, alone. Maya stopped mid-step. He was so small, so thin. His clothes were dirty and torn. His shoes were falling apart. She could see dried blood on his knees through the holes in his pants. But what hit her hardest were his eyes. They weren't the eyes of a child. They were the eyes of someone who had seen too much pain, carried too much weight, grown up too fast. Maya set down the rag and walked over slowly. She crouched down so she was at his eye level. "Hey there, sweetheart," she said softly. "I'm Maya. What's your name?" The boy looked up. He seemed surprised that someone was speaking to him without yelling. "Ethan," he whispered. "Ethan. That's a strong name." Maya smiled gently. "Are you okay? Are you waiting for somebody?" Ethan shook his head slowly. Then so quiet she almost missed it, he said, "I'm hungry." 2 words. Simple. Devastating. Maya felt something crack open inside her chest. She thought about her own problems, the rent, the bills, the fear. And then she looked at this child. This tiny boy with ancient eyes, and her problems suddenly seemed so small. "Okay, Ethan," she said, keeping her voice steady. "Let's fix that. Wait right here." She went inside. Her hands were shaking as she prepared a plate. Fried chicken, 3 pieces, the biggest she had. Rice and gravy. Cornbread with butter. Collard greens. She filled a cup with sweet tea and grabbed a napkin and fork. When she came back outside, Ethan was exactly where she had left him. He hadn't moved an inch. "Here you go, baby," Maya said, setting the plate in front of him. "Eat up." Ethan stared at the food. His eyes went wide. His lower lip trembled. "How much?" he asked. "How much what? How much does it cost? I don't have money, but I can work. I can wash dishes. I can sweep. I can—" "Stop." Maya held up her hand. "This is free, Ethan. It's a gift." "But I—" "No buts. Eat." Ethan looked at the food again. Then he looked at Maya. And then he asked something that broke her heart into 1,000 pieces. "Ma'am, do you have a bag? I want to take it home." Maya blinked. "Take it home, Ethan? You need to eat this yourself." "I know," he said, his voice cracking. "But my mama, she hasn't eaten in 3 days. She's sick. She can't leave the house. She can't work. I'm supposed to bring her food." His eyes filled with tears he was desperately trying not to let fall. "I tried all day, ma'am. I tried so hard. But nobody would help me. And now it's getting dark and I don't have anything for her, and she's going to go another night without eating, and I don't know what to do." The tears finally spilled over. He wiped them away furiously, ashamed of his own weakness. Maya couldn't breathe. This child, this 6-year-old child, had spent the entire day begging for food, not for himself, but for his dying mother. "Ethan," she said, her own voice thick with emotion. "Look at me." He looked up, tears still streaming down his face. "I'm going to make 2 plates," Maya said firmly. "One for you. One for your mama. You're going to sit right here and eat yours. And then you're going to take your mama's plate home to her. Understand?" Ethan nodded slowly, almost like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Maya went back inside. This time, she made 2 full containers. She didn't skimp on anything. She packed extra cornbread, extra chicken, extra everything. She filled 2 bottles with tea. She added plastic forks and napkins. Then she stopped. She walked to the small cash register, opened it, and pulled out $10. It was money she couldn't afford to give away. Money she needed for rent. But she folded it carefully and tucked it into the bag anyway. When she came back outside, she handed everything to Ethan. "One for you," she said. "One for your mama. And there's a little something extra in there for emergencies." Ethan took the bag with trembling hands. He held it like it was made of gold. "Now eat your food," Maya said, pointing to the plate she had set out earlier. "I want to see you finish every bite." Ethan nodded. He sat down properly on the bench. He picked up the fork. He took 1 bite of chicken, and then he started crying. Not quiet tears this time. Real crying. The kind that comes from somewhere so deep, it feels like your soul is breaking. Maya sat down next to him. She put her arm around his small shoulders and held him while he sobbed. "It's okay," she whispered. "It's okay, baby. You're not alone anymore." They sat like that for a long time. Ethan crying into Maya's shoulder. Maya holding him tight, her own tears falling silently into his dusty hair. When the tears finally stopped, Ethan ate. He ate everything on the plate. He drank all the tea. He didn't leave a single crumb. When he finished, he looked at Maya with red-rimmed eyes. "I have to go," he said. "Mama will be worried." "I know." Maya stood up and helped him gather the bag. "Ethan, I want you to come back tomorrow, and the day after that, and every day after that. I'll have food waiting for you and your mama. Okay?" Ethan's mouth fell open. "Every day. Every single day. I promise." "But why? You don't know me. You don't know my mama. Why would you help us?" Maya crouched down so she was at his eye level again. "Because someone should. Because my grandmother taught me that kindness isn't supposed to have conditions. Because you're just a kid who shouldn't have to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders." She reached out and touched his cheek gently. "You come back tomorrow, Ethan. You hear me?" Ethan nodded slowly. Then he did something Maya didn't expect. He hugged her. He wrapped his thin arms around her neck and squeezed tight. "Thank you, Miss Maya," he whispered. "Thank you." Then he grabbed the bag and ran. He ran down the street, around the corner, and out of sight. Maya watched him go. Then she went inside, sat down on an overturned crate, and let herself fall apart. She cried for Ethan. She cried for his mother. She cried for every child who went to bed hungry. She cried for her grandmother, who would have done the exact same thing. She cried for herself because she had just promised to feed 2 more people when she could barely feed herself. "What are you doing, Maya?" she whispered through her tears. "You can't save everyone." But even as she said it, she knew she would keep her promise. Some things were more important than money. 3,000 miles away in a penthouse office overlooking San Francisco Bay, Daniel Carter was staring at a photograph. It was old, worn at the edges. The colors had faded, but the woman in the picture was still beautiful. Grace, her smile, her eyes, the way she had looked at him like he was the most important person in the world. "Mr. Carter." Daniel didn't look up. "I said I didn't want to be disturbed." "I know, sir, but there's a board meeting in 20 minutes and—" "Cancel it." "Sir, the investors are already—" "I said cancel it." Silence. "Yes, sir." The door closed. Daniel continued staring at the photograph. 7 years. 7 years since he had seen her face. 7 years since he had heard her voice. 7 years since he had made the worst mistake of his life. He had been nobody back then. A poor kid from the wrong side of Houston, with nothing but dreams and determination. He had clawed his way into community college, worked nights at a warehouse to pay for books, studied until his eyes bled. That's where he had met Grace. She worked at the campus bookstore. Beautiful. Kind. The sort of woman who made you believe the world wasn't as dark as it seemed. Their first conversation had lasted 3 hours. They had stood in the bookstore long after it closed, talking about everything and nothing. By the end of the night, Daniel knew he was going to marry her. They dated for 2 years. 2 perfect years. She ran a small convenience store she had built from nothing. He was finishing his degree and applying to graduate programs. They were going to build a life together. Then the opportunity came. A tech accelerator in Silicon Valley. A chance to work with some of the greatest minds in the industry. A chance to turn his ideas into reality. But there was a catch. Application fees, travel costs, living expenses. Money Daniel didn't have. He decided not to go. He couldn't afford it. He would find another way. Grace found out. "How much do you need?" she asked one night, her voice quiet but firm. "Grace, I can't take your money. That's your savings. That's for your store." "How much, Daniel?" "It's too much. I can't. The store will be fine. I can rebuild savings. But this opportunity. This might be your only chance." She took his hand and looked into his eyes. "I believe in you. I've always believed in you. Let me help." "Grace, don't you trust me?" "Of course I trust you." "Then take the money. Go to California. Learn everything. Build something amazing." She smiled, and his heart cracked wide open. "And when you're successful, come back for me." He had taken the money, all of it, every dollar she had saved. "I'll pay you back," he promised. "Every cent." "I don't want it back. I want you to succeed. That's my investment." The day he left for California, Grace drove him to the bus station. They stood on the platform, neither wanting to let go. "I'll call you every day," Daniel said. "You better." "I love you, Grace, more than anything." "I love you too." She kissed him one last time. "Now go change the world." The first 2 weeks were incredible. The program was everything he had hoped for. The people were brilliant. The ideas were flowing. And every night he called Grace and told her everything. "I miss you," she said at the end of every call. "I miss you too. I'll be back before you know it." "You promise?" "I promise." Then it happened. He was walking back to his hostel one night when 3 men stepped out of an alley. They demanded his wallet. He gave it to them. They demanded his phone. He hesitated. There were photos of Grace on that phone. Messages. Voicemails he had saved. They beat him until he stopped moving. He woke up in a hospital 2 days later. No wallet. No phone. No way to contact anyone. He tried everything. He searched his email for her number, but he had always called her directly, never written it down. He tried social media, but Grace wasn't online. He tried calling her store, but he didn't remember the exact name or address. He was stuck. 3,000 miles from the woman he loved, with no way to reach her and no money to get home. So he did the only thing he could do. He survived. He got a job washing dishes. He slept in shelters. He saved every penny. He told himself that as soon as he had enough money, he would go back to Houston and find Grace. But the program kept pulling him in. The connections, the opportunities, the ideas that were starting to take shape. And in the back of his mind, a terrible thought began to grow. What if she had moved on? It had been months. He hadn't called. What if she thought he had abandoned her? What if she hated him? What if she had found someone else? The thought paralyzed him. So he buried himself in work. He pushed the guilt down. He told himself he would find her later. Later turned into a year. A year turned into 2. The startup took off. Then it exploded. Suddenly, Daniel Carter was a millionaire, then 100-millionaire, then a billionaire. And still he didn't go back. Not because he had forgotten. He could never forget, but because he was terrified of what he might find. Now, 7 years later, he sat in his penthouse office with billions of dollars and a hole in his chest that no amount of money could fill. His phone rang. Private number. "Mr. Carter, this is James Mitchell, your head of security." "What is it?" "You asked me to look into something. A personal matter." Daniel's heart stopped. "Grace, you found something about Grace?" "Yes, sir. I found quite a bit." Daniel was on his feet instantly. "Tell me everything." "She still lives in Houston. Or at least she did. Her convenience store closed about 3 years ago. Medical bills, apparently." "Medical bills? What medical bills?" "I'm still digging, sir, but it looks like she got sick. Something serious. She sold everything to pay for treatment." Daniel felt the room spin. Is she okay?" "That's where it gets complicated. About 2 years ago, she was evicted from her apartment. After that, the trail goes cold. No credit card activity, no bank records, no address. It's like she disappeared." "Disappeared? What does that mean?" "It could mean a lot of things, sir. She might have moved in with family. She might have left the city. Or what?" James paused. "Or she might be homeless." Daniel grabbed the edge of his desk so hard his knuckles turned white. "There's one more thing, sir." "What?" "I found hospital records from about 6 years ago. Grace Carter gave birth to a son." The room went completely silent. "A son?" Daniel whispered. "Yes, sir. A boy. The father is listed as unknown." Daniel's legs gave out. He collapsed into his chair, the phone pressed to his ear, his mind racing. A son. Grace had a son, 6 years ago. That meant... "Book me a flight to Houston," Daniel said, his voice shaking. "Tonight." "Sir, you have meetings scheduled for..." "Cancel them. Cancel everything. I'm leaving tonight." He hung up and stared at the photograph of Grace. A son. He had a son. A child he had never known about. A child who had been born into poverty because Daniel had never come back. "Grace," he whispered. "I'm coming. I'm finally coming." 12 miles from the Houston airport, in an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city, Grace Carter was dying. She lay on a thin mattress, her breathing shallow and labored. Her skin was pale, her body was frail. She had lost so much weight that her bones showed through her paper-thin skin. She heard the door open. "Mama!" Ethan rushed to her side, the bag from Maya clutched to his chest like treasure. "Mama, I got food. Miss Maya gave me food for both of us." Grace tried to smile. It took all the energy she had. "That's wonderful, baby," she whispered. "Who is Miss Maya?" "She has a food stand. She's so nice, Mama. She gave me chicken and cornbread and tea, and she said I can come back every day, every single day." Tears slipped down Grace's hollow cheeks. "God bless her," she breathed. "God bless that woman." Ethan opened the containers and began preparing a plate for his mother. His small hands moved with practiced efficiency. He had been taking care of her for 2 years. He knew exactly how to prop her head up, how to help her swallow, how to make sure she ate enough. "Mama, you have to eat," he said, lifting a forkful of rice to her lips. "Miss Maya made it special, just for you." Grace opened her mouth and let him feed her. Each bite was a struggle. Her body didn't want food anymore. It wanted to give up, but she couldn't give up. Not while Ethan needed her. "Tell me about Miss Maya," she said weakly between bites. "What does she look like?" "She's pretty, Mama, and she has kind eyes. Like yours." Ethan paused. "She didn't yell at me. She didn't chase me away. She just helped." Grace closed her eyes. A sob escaped her throat. "There are still good people in this world, Ethan. Remember that. No matter how dark things get, there are always good people." "I know, Mama. You taught me that." When Grace had eaten all she could manage, Ethan helped her lie back down. He pulled the thin blanket up to her chin, the same way she used to tuck him in when he was small. "I love you, Mama," he said. "I love you too, baby. More than anything in this world." Grace watched him eat his own dinner. He sat in the corner of the room, savoring every bite, making it last as long as possible. 6 years old. Her baby was 6 years old, and he had been forced to grow up faster than any child should. She thought about Daniel. She always thought about Daniel, especially at night when the pain was bad and sleep wouldn't come. She didn't hate him. She had never hated him. She had loved him too much for hate. But she wondered. Every single day, she wondered what had happened. Why he had stopped calling. Why he had never come back. Was he dead? Had something terrible happened to him? Or had he simply moved on, found someone else, forgotten about the woman who had given him everything she would never know, and in a way that was worse than knowing? Grace felt a coughing fit building in her chest. She tried to suppress it, tried not to worry Ethan, but her body betrayed her. She coughed, and couldn't stop. Ethan was at her side in an instant. "Mama, Mama!" She pulled her hand away from her mouth. It was covered in blood. "Mama!" Ethan's voice rose to a scream. "Mama, you're bleeding!" Grace looked at her son's terrified face. She tried to speak, to tell him it was okay, to tell him not to be scared. But the world was going dark around the edges. "Ethan," she whispered, "I love you. I love you so much. Mama, don't close your eyes. Please don't close your eyes." But Grace couldn't keep them open any longer. The last thing she heard was her son screaming her name. Ethan shook his mother's shoulders. "Mama, Mama, wake up." Grace didn't move. Her eyes stayed closed. The blood on her lips glistened in the dim light filtering through the warehouse's broken windows. "Please, Mama, please don't leave me." Ethan pressed his ear to her chest. He could hear her heartbeat, faint and irregular, but still there. She was alive, barely. He grabbed the thin blanket and wiped the blood from her mouth with trembling hands. He didn't know what to do. He was 6 years old. He didn't know how to save his mother's life. "Think, Ethan," he whispered to himself. "Think. Miss Maya. Miss Maya had been kind. Miss Maya had helped him. Maybe Miss Maya would know what to do." But it was dark outside. The food stand would be closed, and he couldn't leave his mother alone. What if she stopped breathing while he was gone? What if she died and he wasn't there to hold her hand? Ethan sat down next to Grace and took her cold hand in both of his. He squeezed his eyes shut and did something he hadn't done in a long time. He prayed, "Please, God, please don't take my mama. She's all I have. I'll do anything. I'll be good forever. I'll never complain about being hungry. Just please, please let her wake up." The night stretched on, endless and terrifying. Ethan didn't sleep. He sat beside his mother, holding her hand, watching her chest rise and fall with each shallow breath. Sometime after midnight, Grace stirred. "Ethan?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Mama!" Ethan's heart exploded with relief. "You're awake. You scared me so bad, Mama. There was blood and you wouldn't open your eyes, and I didn't know what to do." Grace reached up with a weak hand and touched his face. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." "Are you okay? Does it hurt?" "I'm okay. I just need to rest." She tried to smile, but it looked more like a grimace. "Don't worry about me." "You were coughing blood, Mama. That's not okay. That's really not okay." Grace closed her eyes. She knew he was right. The kidney failure was getting worse. Without dialysis, without treatment, her body was shutting down. She had weeks left, maybe less. But she couldn't tell Ethan that. She couldn't put that burden on a 6-year-old child. "I'll be fine," she lied. "I just need rest. Go to sleep, baby. I'm not leaving you. You don't have to leave. Just lie down next to me and close your eyes." Ethan hesitated, then carefully lay down beside his mother. He pressed himself against her side, his small arm draped across her stomach. "I love you, Mama." "I love you too, baby." more than all the stars in the sky. Grace stayed awake long after Ethan's breathing became slow and even. She stared at the ceiling, tears sliding silently down her temples. She was dying. She knew it with absolute certainty. And when she was gone, Ethan would be alone in the world. "Daniel," she whispered into the darkness. "Where are you? Our son needs you. I need you." But only silence answered. The next morning, Ethan woke before dawn. He checked on his mother first. She was still breathing, still alive. He slipped out of the warehouse and started walking toward Maya's food stand. His legs ached from yesterday. His stomach was empty again. But he had to tell Miss Maya what happened. Maybe she could help. Maybe she knew a doctor. Maybe she could do something. The streets were quiet at this hour. The sun was just starting to peek over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Ethan barely noticed. He walked fast, almost running, desperation driving his tired body forward. When he reached Maya's kitchen, the stand wasn't open yet, but there was a light on inside. Ethan banged on the counter. "Miss Maya! Miss Maya! Are you there?" The door flew open. Maya appeared, still wearing her apron, her hair tied back in a messy ponytail. "Ethan, what are you doing here so early? What's wrong?" "It's my mama." The words tumbled out in a rush. "She coughed blood last night. A lot of blood, and then she passed out, and I couldn't wake her up, and I was so scared, and I didn't know what to do. And she says she's fine, but she's not fine, Miss Maya. I know she's not fine." Maya's face went pale. She grabbed Ethan's shoulders gently. "Slow down, baby. Take a breath. Tell me exactly what happened." Ethan told her everything. The coughing, the blood, the way his mother had collapsed, the terror of sitting beside her all night not knowing if she would wake up. By the time he finished, Maya had made a decision. "Take me to her," she said. "What?" "Take me to your mother, right now." "But your stand." "The stand can wait. This is more important." She grabbed her keys, locked the door, and took Ethan's hand. "Lead the way." 20 minutes later, Maya stood in the doorway of the abandoned warehouse, her heart shattering into a million pieces. She had known Ethan's situation was bad, but she hadn't imagined this. The room was barely 10 feet across. There was a mattress on the floor, a few plastic containers for water, some clothes folded in a corner. That was it. No furniture, no electricity, no running water, nothing. And lying on that mattress, looking more dead than alive, was Ethan's mother. Maya approached slowly and knelt beside her. "Grace, my name is Maya. I'm a friend of Ethan's." Grace opened her eyes. They were clouded with pain and exhaustion. "You're the one who's been feeding my son." "Yes, ma'am." "Thank you." Grace's voice cracked. "You don't know what that means to us." "Don't thank me yet." Maya looked at Ethan, then back at Grace. "You need a doctor, today, right now." Grace shook her head weakly. "No doctors. We can't afford it." "I don't care about affording it. You're dying. I can see it. Ethan can see it. You need help." "There's nothing they can do that they haven't already tried." Grace closed her eyes. "I have kidney failure, stage 5. I need a transplant, but that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. I need dialysis twice a week, but that costs thousands a month. We don't have that kind of money. We don't have any money." Maya felt tears burning her eyes. "There has to be something. Some program, some charity." "I've tried everything. Every program has a waiting list months long. Every charity wants documentation we don't have. Every hospital wants payment up front." Grace laughed bitterly. "The system isn't designed for people like us. We fall through the cracks and nobody catches us." Maya looked around the warehouse at the desperation and poverty surrounding her and felt rage building in her chest. This wasn't right. A woman shouldn't have to die because she couldn't afford treatment. A child shouldn't have to watch his mother fade away because some pieces of paper didn't line up correctly. "I'm going to help you," Maya said firmly. Grace opened her eyes. You've already helped enough. No, I've given you food. That's not enough, not anymore. Maya took Grace's hand. I don't have much, but I have friends. I have connections in this neighborhood. There are people who care about other people, even if the system doesn't. Let me try. Why? Grace whispered. Why do you care so much? You don't know us. Maya thought about her grandmother, about kindness without conditions, about doing the right thing even when it was hard. Because someone should, she said simply. Because if I don't try to help, then who will? Grace stared at her for a long moment. Then, for the first time in months, she let herself hope. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Across the city, Daniel Carter's private jet had landed 3 hours ago. He hadn't slept on the flight. He couldn't. His mind was racing with questions that had no answers. Did Grace know about him? Did she hate him? Was she okay? And the biggest question of all, what did his son look like? What was his name? Did he have Grace's smile, or Daniel's eyes? Mr. Carter? James, his head of security, approached with a tablet. I have an update. Daniel grabbed the tablet. What did you find? We've narrowed down the search area. Based on the hospital records, Grace was living in the southeast part of the city when she gave birth. We've got teams canvassing the area showing her photograph. That's not good enough. Southeast Houston is huge. I know, sir, but we're making progress. Someone will recognize her. And if she's not there anymore, if she moved, then we'll expand the search. We have resources. We have time. She might not have time. Daniel ran his fingers through his hair. You said she was sick. You said she lost everything paying for treatment. If she's been living on the streets for 2 years? He couldn't finish the sentence. We'll find her, sir. I promise. Daniel nodded, but the promise felt hollow. Houston was a city of millions. Finding one woman, especially a woman who had fallen off the grid, was like finding a needle in a haystack. But he had to try. He owed Grace that much. He owed their son that much. Double the teams, Daniel said. Triple them if you have to. Offer rewards for information. I don't care what it costs. Yes, sir. As James walked away, Daniel stared out the window at the city sprawling below. I'm here, Grace, he whispered. I'm finally here. Just hold on a little longer. Back at the warehouse, Maya had made a decision. You can't stay here, she said to Grace. This place is going to kill you faster than the kidney failure. We don't have anywhere else to go. Yes, you do. Maya took a deep breath. I have an apartment. It's small, just 1 bedroom, but it's clean. It has running water and electricity and heat. You and Ethan are going to stay with me. Grace stared at her. We can't impose on you like that. You're not imposing. I'm inviting you. But you barely know us. We could be anyone. We could be... You're a dying mother and a 6-year-old boy who's been taking care of you by himself. That's all I need to know. Ethan had been listening quietly. Now he spoke up, his voice small but hopeful. Really, Miss Maya? We can stay with you. Maya smiled at him. Really? What about your rent? Grace asked. You said you were struggling. I'll figure it out. I always do. Grace felt tears spilling down her cheeks. I don't understand. Why are you doing this for us? Maya was quiet for a moment. Then she said, When my grandmother was sick, I dropped out of school to take care of her. I gave up everything. And when she died, I thought my life was over. But she taught me something important before she passed. She said kindness isn't about what you get back. It's about what you put into the world. She said when you help someone, you're not just changing their life. You're changing yourself. You're becoming the person you were meant to be. Maya wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I don't have much, but I have a roof and a heart and 2 hands. And right now, that's what you need. So please let me help. Grace couldn't speak. She just nodded, sobbing silently. 3 hours later, Maya had borrowed a neighbor's car and moved Grace and Ethan into her apartment. It was a small place, just a living room, kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom. But to Ethan, it looked like a palace. There was a real bed, a working stove, a refrigerator with food in it, a television. Things he had almost forgotten existed. "This is amazing," he breathed, spinning around to take everything in. Maya laughed. "It's nothing fancy. It's the best place I've ever seen." Grace lay on Maya's bed, exhausted from the move, but more comfortable than she had been in years. "I still can't believe you're doing this for us." "Believe it." Maya handed her a glass of water. "Now rest. I need to get to the food stand. The lunch rush will be starting soon." "Can I come with you?" Ethan asked eagerly. "Of course you can, but first we need to get you cleaned up and fed." She took Ethan to the bathroom and helped him wash up properly for the first time in weeks. She found some old clothes that had belonged to her younger cousin and helped him get dressed. Then she made him a proper breakfast: eggs, toast, bacon, and fresh orange juice. Ethan ate like he had never seen food before. "Slow down," Maya laughed. "Nobody's going to take it away from you." Ethan looked up at her with those two old eyes. "I know. I forgot what it felt like. To be full. To be safe." His voice dropped to a whisper. "To have someone take care of me, instead of me taking care of everyone else." Maya felt her heart crack wide open. She reached across the table and took his hand. "You're safe now, Ethan. You and your mama both. I'm going to take care of you. I promise." Ethan squeezed her hand tight, and for the first time since he could remember, he actually believed it. Meanwhile, Daniel's search was intensifying. His teams had fanned out across southeast Houston, showing Grace's photograph to shop owners, residents, homeless shelters, anyone who might have seen her. Most people shook their heads. They didn't recognize her. They couldn't help. But then, late in the afternoon, Daniel got a call. "Mr. Carter, we have something." Daniel's heart stopped. "What? What did you find?" "One of my guys was showing the photo at a community health clinic. The receptionist recognized her, said Grace was a patient there about 18 months ago. She came in for dialysis a few times before she stopped showing up." "Why did she stop?" "Couldn't afford it. The clinic does sliding scale payments, but even that was too much for her." "Did they have an address?" "An old one. An apartment building about 6 miles from here. She was evicted, but maybe the neighbors remember something." "Send me the address. I'm going myself." 20 minutes later, Daniel stood in front of a rundown apartment building. The paint was peeling. The windows were dirty. But someone in this building might have known Grace. Someone might know where she went. He started knocking on doors. The first 3 apartments gave him nothing. The 4th was occupied by an elderly man who squinted at the photograph and shook his head. The 5th door was answered by a young woman holding a baby. "Excuse me," Daniel said, holding up the photo. "Do you recognize this woman? Her name is Grace. She lived in this building about 2 years ago." The woman looked at the photo. Her eyes widened slightly. "Yeah, I remember her. Sweet lady. Had a little boy." Daniel's heart hammered in his chest. "Do you know where she went after she was evicted?" The woman shook her head. "No idea. One day she was here, the next she was gone. Didn't tell anyone where she was going." She paused, then added, "I felt bad for her, you know. She was real sick. Could barely walk some days. And that little boy of hers, he was always taking care of her. Carrying groceries, helping her up the stairs. No kid should have to do that." Daniel felt like he had been punched in the stomach. "Did she have any friends? Anyone she might have gone to for help?" "Not that I know of. She kept to herself mostly. I think she was embarrassed about her situation." The woman looked at Daniel curiously. "Why are you looking for her? Are you family?" Daniel hesitated. Then he said, "I'm the boy's father." The woman's eyebrows shot up. His father, Grace, said the father was gone. Said he left before the baby was born and never came back. I didn't know about him. I didn't know about any of it. I've been looking for Grace for a long time. Daniel's voice cracked. I have to find them. I have to make things right. The woman's face softened. I wish I could help you, mister. I really do. But I don't know where she went. She looked at the baby in her arms, then back at Daniel. I hope you find them. That little boy deserves a father, and Grace, she deserves someone who cares about her. Thank you. Daniel turned to leave, then stopped. If you hear anything at all, please call this number. He handed her a business card with his private cell phone on it. The woman looked at the card, then at Daniel's expensive suit, then back at the card. Are you rich or something? Does it matter? I guess not. She tucked the card into her pocket. Good luck, mister. I really hope you find them. Daniel walked back to his SUV, his mind spinning. Grace had been here in this building 18 months ago. She had been sick. She had been struggling, and she had been alone. If only he had come back sooner. If only he hadn't let fear keep him away. If only, if only, if only. We'll expand the search, James said. Homeless shelters, soup kitchens, food pantries. If she's still in the city, someone has seen her. And if she's not in the city, then we'll search the whole state, the whole country if we have to. Daniel nodded, but doubt was creeping in. Houston was huge. Grace could be anywhere. She could be dead in a ditch somewhere, and he would never know. No, he couldn't think like that. He had to believe she was alive. He had to believe he would find her. Let's go, he said. We have more ground to cover. The SUV pulled away from the apartment building and headed deeper into the city. At Maya's food stand, the afternoon was winding down. Ethan had spent the day helping Maya serve customers. He wiped tables. He refilled napkin holders. He smiled at everyone who walked in. The regular customers were charmed by him. Who's this little helper? Mr. Williams asked, grinning at Ethan. This is Ethan, Maya said. He's staying with me for a while. Well, Ethan, you're doing a great job. Keep it up, and Maya might have to start paying you. Ethan beamed. I don't need money. I just like helping Miss Maya. Mr. Williams looked at Maya with knowing eyes. This one's special. You hold on to him. I plan to, Maya said softly. As the last customer left, Maya began closing up. Ethan helped her stack chairs and wipe down the counter. Miss Maya. Yes, baby. Thank you for everything. Ethan's voice was quiet. Nobody ever helped us like you do. Most people look at me and Mama like we're trash, like we don't matter. But you look at us like we're real people. Maya stopped what she was doing and knelt down to Ethan's level. That's because you are real people. You matter. Your Mama matters. Don't ever let anyone make you feel like you don't. Ethan nodded slowly. Then he hugged her, wrapping his thin arms around her neck. Maya held him tight, this brave little boy who had been through so much and still had love to give. Come on, she said finally. Let's go home and check on your Mama. They walked back to the apartment together, hand in hand. When they arrived, they found Grace sitting up in bed, looking slightly better than she had that morning. Mama! Ethan ran to her and climbed onto the bed. Are you feeling okay? Does anything hurt? Do you need water? Grace laughed weakly. I'm okay, baby. Better than I've been in a long time. She looked at Maya. Whatever magic you have in this apartment, it's working. No magic, just a clean bed and some decent food. Maya smiled. I made soup. Are you hungry? Starving, actually. Maya served dinner to all three of them. They sat together, Grace in the bed, Maya and Ethan on chairs pulled up beside her, eating vegetable soup and fresh bread. For a moment, just for a moment, they almost felt like a family. This is nice, Grace said quietly. I had forgotten what nice felt like. Get used to it, Maya replied, because this is your life now. Grace looked at her with tear-filled eyes. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to thank me. Just focus on getting better. I'm not going to get better. The words hung in the air, heavy and final. You know that, right? Without a transplant, without dialysis, this is just borrowed time. Maya's jaw tightened. Then we'll find you a transplant. We'll find a way to pay for dialysis. We're not giving up. Maya. No. Maya's voice was firm. I didn't pull you out of that warehouse just to watch you give up. We're going to fight, together. Do you understand me? Grace stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. Okay, she whispered. We'll fight. Good. Maya stood up and started clearing the dishes. Now get some rest. Tomorrow I'm making phone calls. We're going to find you help if I have to call every hospital in Texas. After dinner, Ethan curled up next to his mother. Maya took a blanket and settled onto the couch in the living room. The apartment was quiet. The city hummed outside the windows. And somewhere across town, Daniel Carter was still searching. He didn't know that the woman he loved was only 12 miles away, lying in a stranger's bed fighting for her life. He didn't know that his son was curled up beside her, finally safe and warm for the first time in months. He didn't know that fate was slowly pulling them together one day at a time. But he would. Because 3 weeks from tonight, 4 black SUVs would pull up to a small food stand on the corner of a dusty street. And everything would change forever. 1 week had passed since Grace and Ethan moved into Maya's apartment. Grace was getting weaker. Maya could see it every morning when she checked on her. The color draining from her face. The effort it took just to sit up. The way she tried to hide her pain behind a smile whenever Ethan was watching. You need to eat more, Maya said, setting a bowl of oatmeal on the bedside table. Grace looked at the food but didn't reach for it. I'm not hungry. That's not an option. You have to eat something. My body doesn't want food, Maya. It wants to give up. Well, your body doesn't get a vote. Maya picked up the spoon and held it out. Eat. For Ethan. Grace looked at her son, who was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework Maya had gotten him from a local elementary school. He wasn't enrolled, but Maya had convinced a teacher friend to give her some basic worksheets. Ethan was smart. He picked up everything quickly. He was hungry for knowledge the same way he used to be hungry for food. Grace took the spoon and ate a small bite of oatmeal. It was tasteless to her, but she forced herself to swallow. Good, Maya said. Good, Maya. Now another one. You're worse than a drill sergeant. Someone has to be. They both smiled, and for a moment the heaviness lifted. Maya, Grace said quietly. Can I ask you something? Anything. When I'm gone, don't. Maya, please. We have to talk about this. No, we don't. Because you're not going anywhere. Grace reached out and took Maya's hand. Her grip was weak, but her eyes were intense. I know you want to believe that, and I love you for it. But I'm dying. You know it. I know it. The only one who doesn't know it is Ethan, and I need to keep it that way as long as possible. Maya felt tears burning her eyes. Grace, let me finish. When I'm gone, Ethan will have no one. His father is gone. I have no family left. He'll be alone in the world. Grace squeezed her hand. I need to know he'll be okay. I need to know someone will take care of him. He'll go into the system. Foster care. That's what I'm afraid of. Grace's voice broke. He's been through so much already. I can't stand the thought of him being shuffled from home to home, feeling unwanted, feeling like a burden. Maya was quiet for a long moment. She looked at Ethan, this brave little boy who had stolen her heart completely. She thought about her own life, her struggles, her dreams of going back to school. Then she thought about what her grandmother would do. He won't go into the system, Maya said firmly. Grace looked at her. What do you mean? I mean I'll take care of him. If something happens to you, I'll take him. I'll raise him as my own." Grace's eyes widened. "Maya, you can't." "I can and I will." "But you're so young. You have your whole life ahead of you. A child is a huge responsibility. You'd have to give up so much." "I don't care." Maya's voice was steady. "Ethan is special. He deserves a chance. And if I can give him that chance, then nothing else matters." Grace started crying. Not quiet tears, but deep, gut-wrenching sobs that shook her entire body. Ethan looked up from his homework. "Mama, what's wrong?" Grace couldn't answer. She just reached out her arms, and Ethan ran to her, climbing onto the bed and hugging her tight. "It's okay, Mama. Whatever it is, it's okay. I'm here." Maya watched them hold each other, mother and son, and made a silent promise to herself. She would save Grace if it was humanly possible. And if she couldn't save her, she would make sure Ethan never felt alone again. Across the city, Daniel was losing hope. 10 days of searching, hundreds of people interviewed, thousands of dollars spent, and still nothing. "We've checked every homeless shelter in the city," James reported. "Every soup kitchen, every food pantry. No one has seen her." Daniel slammed his fist on the table. "That's not possible. She has to be somewhere. Maybe she left Houston. Maybe she went to another city. No, she's here. I can feel it." "With all due respect, sir, feelings aren't evidence. We've done everything we can." "Then do more." Daniel's voice rose. "Hire more people. Expand the search. I don't care if we have to knock on every door in this city. Find her." James nodded slowly. "Yes, sir." After James left, Daniel collapsed into a chair and buried his face in his hands. 7 years. He had wasted 7 years being afraid. And now Grace was out there somewhere, sick and alone, and he couldn't find her. His phone buzzed. A text from his business partner asking about a merger deal worth $3 billion. Daniel stared at the message. $3 billion. It was more money than most people could imagine. And right now, he would trade every penny of it just to see Grace's face again. He didn't reply. Instead, he got up, grabbed his jacket, and headed for the door. "Where are you going, sir?" his assistant asked. "Out. I need some air." He walked for hours, through busy streets and quiet neighborhoods, past fancy restaurants and run-down shops. He didn't know where he was going. He just walked. Eventually, he found himself in a poorer part of the city. The buildings were older here, the streets were dirtier, but there was life in these neighborhoods. Children playing, families sitting on porches, old men arguing about sports. This was where Grace would be, not in some fancy shelter downtown. Here among real people who understood real struggle. Daniel stopped at a small corner store and went inside. An elderly woman sat behind the counter reading a magazine. "Excuse me," Daniel said, pulling out the photograph. "Have you seen this woman? Her name is Grace." The woman put on her glasses and studied the photo. Then she shook her head. "Can't say I have. Pretty girl, though. Who is she?" "Someone I lost a long time ago. Someone I need to find." The woman looked at him with knowing eyes. "You hurt her." "Not intentionally, but yes, I hurt her. And now you want to make it right." "More than anything." The woman handed back the photograph. "I hope you find her, mister. But let me give you some advice. Finding someone is the easy part. Earning their forgiveness. That's the hard part. You better be ready for that." Daniel nodded. "I am." He left the store and kept walking. 3 blocks later, he passed a small food stand. The smell of fried chicken made his stomach growl. He hadn't eaten all day. He almost stopped, almost went in. But something told him to keep moving. He had ground to cover, people to find. So he walked right past Maya's kitchen without a second glance. He didn't see the woman behind the counter wiping down tables. He didn't see the small boy helping her stack chairs. He didn't know that his son was only 50 feet away. The universe can be cruel that way. Back at the apartment, Grace had taken a turn for the worse. Maya came home from the food stand to find her barely conscious, her breathing shallow and labored. Grace. Grace, can you hear me? Grace's eyes fluttered open. Maya. I'm here. What happened? I don't know. I was fine 1 minute and then everything went dark. Maya felt Grace's forehead. She was burning up. You have a fever, a high one. Probably an infection. Happens sometimes with kidney failure. We need to get you to a hospital. No hospitals. Grace grabbed Maya's wrist with surprising strength. They'll admit me. They'll find out about Ethan. They'll take him away. Grace, you could die. I'm going to die anyway. At least this way I die with my son beside me, instead of alone in some hospital bed. Maya wanted to scream. She wanted to shake some sense into this stubborn, beautiful, dying woman. But she understood. She understood the fear of losing Ethan to the system. She understood the need to hold on to the little time they had left. Okay, Maya said finally. No hospital. But I'm calling a friend who's a nurse. She can come check on you, give you some antibiotics. No questions asked. Grace nodded weakly. Okay. Maya called her friend immediately. Lisa arrived an hour later with a bag full of medical supplies. This is bad, Lisa said after examining Grace. She needs dialysis. Her toxin levels must be through the roof. We can't afford dialysis. Then she's going to die, Maya. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. Her kidneys aren't filtering anything. Her body is poisoning itself. Maya pulled Lisa aside so Grace couldn't hear. How long? Lisa hesitated. If she gets dialysis, months, maybe longer. Without it, a few weeks. Maybe less if the infection spreads. A few weeks. That's all Grace had left. A few weeks to live. A few weeks with her son. There has to be something we can do, Maya whispered desperately. Find money for treatment. Or find a donor for a transplant. Those are her only options. How much? How much would it cost? Lisa sighed. For dialysis and eventually a transplant. You're looking at $300,000, minimum. $300,000. Maya made less than $2,000 a month. Even if she saved every penny, she couldn't raise that kind of money in a lifetime. I'm sorry, Lisa said. I wish I had better news. Just give her the antibiotics. Make her comfortable. Lisa nodded and went back to Grace. She started an IV-administered antibiotics and checked her vitals. This will help with the infection, Lisa told Grace. But you need to rest. Don't try to do anything. Just stay in bed and let your body fight. Grace nodded weakly. Thank you. After Lisa left, Maya sat beside Grace's bed. Ethan had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from worrying about his mother. $300,000, Grace whispered. I heard you talking. You weren't supposed to hear that. Maya, even if you sold everything you own, you couldn't raise that kind of money. I know. Then let me go. Stop fighting. Let me have peace. No. Maya's voice was fierce. I promised Ethan I would take care of you. I promised myself. And I don't break my promises. Some promises can't be kept. This one will be. Grace looked at her for a long moment. You're the most stubborn person I've ever met. I'll take that as a compliment. Grace almost smiled. Then her eyes closed, and she drifted into a fitful sleep. Maya stayed up all night watching over her, thinking, planning, praying for a miracle. By morning, she had made a decision. She was going to find Daniel Carter. Ethan, Maya said over breakfast. I need to ask you something about your father. Ethan looked up from his cereal. My father? I don't have a father. Everyone has a father, baby, even if he's not around. Mama said he left before I was born. She said he doesn't know I exist. Did she ever tell you his name? Ethan thought for a moment. Daniel. I think she said his name was Daniel. Maya's heart raced. Daniel what? Did she say a last name? I don't remember. Maybe Carter. I'm not sure. Daniel Carter. Maya pulled out her phone and typed the name into a search engine. What she found made her gasp. Daniel Carter. Billionaire tech entrepreneur. Co-founder of one of the most successful software companies in America, worth an estimated $3 billion. And he looked exactly like an older version of Ethan. Oh my God, Maya whispered. What is it, Miss Maya? Nothing, baby. Finish your breakfast. Maya stared at the phone screen, her mind racing. Ethan's father was a billionaire who had abandoned Grace 7 years ago and never came back. Part of her wanted to hate him. What kind of man leaves a pregnant woman and never looks back? But another part of her saw an opportunity. If Daniel Carter was as rich as the article said, he could pay for Grace's treatment 1,000 times over. He could save her life without even noticing the money was gone. The question was, would he, and how could Maya find him? She scrolled through more articles. Most were about business deals and company milestones. But one caught her eye. Tech billionaire Daniel Carter returns to Houston for personal reasons. Maya clicked on the article. It was dated 8 days ago. Sources close to Carter say he returned to his hometown of Houston for undisclosed personal reasons. The billionaire has been spotted around the city, appearing to be searching for someone. Searching for someone. Maya's breath caught in her throat. He was here. Daniel Carter was in Houston, and he was looking for someone. Looking for Grace. Could it be that the man who had abandoned them was actually trying to find them? Could it be that this wasn't a story of a heartless man, but of something more complicated? Maya needed answers, and she knew only one person could give them to her. She walked to the bedroom where Grace was resting. Grace, I need to ask you something about Daniel. Grace's eyes opened slowly. What about him? Did he leave you? Or did something happen? Grace was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was heavy with old pain. He didn't leave me. At least I don't think he meant to. Maya sat down on the edge of the bed. Tell me. Grace took a shaky breath. Daniel got accepted into a program in California. It was his dream, his chance to escape poverty. But he couldn't afford it. So you helped him. I gave him everything, every dollar I had saved. I believed in him. I loved him. And then, the first 2 weeks were perfect. He called me every day. We made plans. We talked about our future. Grace's eyes filled with tears. Then the call stopped. His number was disconnected. I couldn't reach him. I didn't know what happened. Did you try to find him? I tried everything. I called the program. They said he had dropped out. I searched online. Nothing. It was like he had vanished. Grace wiped her eyes. A few weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. I tried even harder to find him then, but he was gone. Did you ever think he might have been hurt? That something happened to him? I thought about it. I prayed it wasn't true, but as time went on, I started to believe he had just used me, taken my money and moved on to someone else. Maya pulled up the article on her phone and showed it to Grace. Look at this. Grace squinted at the screen. Her eyes widened as she read. Daniel Carter, billionaire. That's him, isn't it? Grace stared at the photo accompanying the article. Even after 7 years, she recognized those eyes, those cheekbones, that smile. That's him, she whispered. That's Daniel. Grace, the article says he's in Houston. It says he's searching for someone. Grace shook her head slowly. No, it can't be. What if he's looking for you? Why would he look for me now, after 7 years? I don't know, but if he is, and if he found out about Ethan, about your condition. Maya took Grace's hand. He's a billionaire, Grace. He could pay for your treatment. He could save your life. Grace pulled her hand away. I don't want his money. This isn't about wanting. This is about surviving. I survived 6 years without him. Ethan and I, we made it on our own. You're dying, Grace. Maya's voice rose. You're dying and your son is going to be an orphan. Is your pride really more important than his future? Grace flinched like she had been slapped. For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then quietly she said, You're right. What? You're right. This isn't about me anymore. It's about Ethan. Grace looked at the phone screen again at Daniel's face. If he wants to be found, if he's really looking for us, maybe it's time. Maya felt hope surge in her chest. How do we find him? I don't know. A man like that probably has security, assistance, layers of people protecting him from the public. The article mentions he's been seen around the city. Maybe if we put out the word, someone might know where he's staying. Grace nodded slowly. Maybe. Or, Maya had a sudden idea. Maybe we don't need to find him. Maybe we just need to make sure he finds us. What do you mean? He's searching for you, right? That means he's probably showing your picture around, asking questions. Eventually someone will recognize you. Or recognize Ethan. Maya's mind was racing. We just need to be visible. We need to be somewhere he might look. Your food stand, Grace said. Exactly. If I keep Ethan there with me, if word spreads about a woman and a little boy who look like the people he's searching for, he might find you. He might find all of us. Grace reached out and took Maya's hand. You would do that. Put yourself out there like that. I would do anything to save you, Grace. You know that. Grace started crying again. I don't deserve you. Stop it. You deserve everything good in this world, and I'm going to make sure you get it. The next morning, Maya opened her food stand earlier than usual. She put Ethan to work right away, helping with everything visible from the street. Why are we working so early, Miss Maya? Because today is a special day. What's special about it? Maya smiled at him. We're going to be seen. The hours passed slowly. Customers came and went. Maya kept her eyes on the street, watching for expensive cars, for men in suits, for anyone who might be connected to Daniel Carter. By afternoon, she was starting to lose hope. Maybe this plan was foolish. Maybe Daniel wasn't really searching for Grace at all. Maybe that article was wrong. Then a black SUV pulled up to the curb. Maya's heart stopped. The door opened and a man in a dark suit stepped out. He looked around, his eyes scanning the street, the buildings, the faces of everyone nearby. Then his gaze landed on the food stand. On Ethan. The man pulled out a phone and made a call. Maya couldn't hear what he said, but she could see his lips moving rapidly. His eyes never left Ethan. A few minutes later, 3 more black SUVs arrived, and Daniel Carter stepped out of the lead vehicle. He stood there for a moment, frozen, his eyes fixed on the small boy washing dishes behind the counter. Then he started walking forward. Maya stepped in front of Ethan instinctively. Can I help you? Daniel didn't seem to hear her. His eyes were locked on the boy behind her, tears streaming down his face. Ethan, he whispered. Your name is Ethan, isn't it? Ethan looked up confused. Yes, sir. How do you know my name? Daniel fell to his knees. Because I'm your father. Ethan stared at the man kneeling before him. His small face showed confusion, disbelief, and something else. Something that looked like hope fighting against fear. My father. Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. But Mama said you left. She said you never came back. Daniel's tears fell freely. He didn't try to wipe them away. I know what she said. And I understand why she believed it. But I didn't leave Ethan. I swear to God I didn't leave. Maya stepped forward, her body still positioned between Daniel and the boy. Who are you? How do we know you're telling the truth? Daniel looked up at her. My name is Daniel Carter. I met Grace 7 years ago at a community college. We fell in love. She gave me everything she had, so I could chase my dreams. His voice broke. And then I lost her. Not because I wanted to, because the world tore us apart. That's a nice story, Maya said coldly. But stories don't prove anything. Daniel reached into his jacket and pulled out a worn photograph. He handed it to Maya. She looked at it and felt her breath catch. It was Grace, young, beautiful, smiling. And standing beside her with his arm around her waist was the man in front of her. "I've carried this picture every day for 7 years," Daniel said. "Every single day. I never stopped loving her. I never stopped looking for her." Ethan moved closer, peeking around Maya to see the photo. "That's Mama. She looks so happy." She was happy. We were happy. Daniel's voice cracked. "I was supposed to come back for her. I promised I would. But things went wrong. Terribly wrong." Maya studied his face. She saw the pain there, the guilt, the desperation. This wasn't a man who had abandoned his family without a second thought. This was a man who had been carrying a burden for years. "What happened?" she asked quietly. "Why didn't you come back?" Daniel took a shaky breath. "I was robbed. 2 weeks after I arrived in California. 3 men jumped me in an alley. They took everything, my wallet, my phone. They beat me so badly I spent 2 days in the hospital." "And you couldn't contact Grace?" "I didn't have her number memorized. It was in my phone. All our photos, all our messages, everything was gone." Daniel ran his hand through his hair. "I tried to find her. I tried everything. But she wasn't on social media. I couldn't remember the exact name of her store. The program I was in didn't have any of her information." "So you just gave up?" Maya's voice was sharp. "No." Daniel's eyes flashed. "I didn't give up. I worked. I survived. I told myself I would go back as soon as I had enough money. But then the program started taking off. Opportunities kept coming. And I was terrified. Terrified of what? That she had moved on. That she hated me. That I had destroyed the only good thing in my life and there was no way to fix it." Daniel looked down at his hands. "I was a coward. I let fear keep me away. And by the time I finally found the courage to come back, she had disappeared." Ethan stepped out from behind Maya. His small face was serious, his eyes searching Daniel's face for the truth. "You really didn't know about me?" Daniel shook his head. "I found out 8 days ago. My security team found hospital records. That's when I learned Grace had a son." He reached out slowly, carefully, and touched Ethan's cheek. "That's when I learned about you." Ethan didn't pull away. "Mama cried sometimes. Late at night when she thought I was asleep. She held a picture and cried." Daniel's face crumpled. "A picture of me?" "I think so. She never showed me. But I think so." Daniel pulled his son into his arms and held him tight. Ethan stiffened at first, unused to being held by anyone except his mother and Maya. Then slowly he relaxed. "I'm sorry," Daniel whispered. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. I should have been here. I should have found you sooner." Maya watched them, her own eyes wet with tears. This was real. This man wasn't a villain. He was a father who had lost everything and spent years trying to find his way back. But there was still one person missing from this reunion. "Grace," Maya said suddenly. "We need to take you to Grace." Daniel released Ethan and looked up. "She's alive. She's here. She's at my apartment. But Daniel..." Maya hesitated. "She's very sick. Kidney failure. She doesn't have much time." The color drained from Daniel's face. "How much time?" "Weeks, maybe less. She needs dialysis. She needs a transplant. She needs things we can't afford." Daniel was on his feet instantly. "Take me to her, right now." Maya grabbed Ethan's hand. "Let's go." They piled into Daniel's SUV. Maya gave directions while Daniel barked orders into his phone. "I need the best nephrologist in Houston on standby. I don't care what it costs. Get them to this address in 30 minutes. He rattled off Maya's apartment address. "And arrange for emergency medical transport. We may need to get her to a hospital immediately." Ethan sat between Maya and Daniel, his small hand clutching Maya's fingers. "Is Mama going to be okay?" Daniel looked at his son. "I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure she is. Promise." Daniel took Ethan's other hand. "I promise." 12 minutes later, they pulled up to Maya's apartment building. Daniel was out of the car before it fully stopped. Maya led him up the stairs, her heart pounding with each step. She opened the door. Grace was lying in bed exactly where Maya had left her that morning. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing was shallow. She looked smaller somehow, like she was fading away piece by piece. Daniel stopped in the doorway. For a long moment he just stared at her. The woman he had loved. The woman he had lost. The woman who had sacrificed everything for him and received nothing in return. "Grace," he whispered. Her eyes fluttered open. At first they were unfocused, confused. Then they found his face and widened in shock. "Daniel." He crossed the room in 3 steps and fell to his knees beside her bed. "I'm here, Grace. I'm finally here." Grace stared at him like he was a ghost. Her hand reached up slowly, trembling, and touched his face. "Is this real? Am I dreaming?" "It's real. I'm real." Daniel took her hand and pressed it to his lips. "I found you. After all these years, I finally found you." Tears spilled down Grace's hollow cheeks. "I thought you forgot about me. I thought you moved on." "Never. Not for a single day." Daniel's voice broke. "I tried to come back, Grace. I swear I tried. My phone was stolen. I lost everything. I couldn't find you." "I waited," Grace whispered. "For months I waited. I called your number 1,000 times. It was disconnected." "I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." "I found out I was pregnant. I tried even harder to find you then, but you were just gone." Daniel pressed his forehead to her hand. "I didn't know. I didn't know about Ethan until last week. If I had known, I would have torn the world apart to get back to you." Grace looked past him to the doorway where Ethan was standing with Maya. "He found you. We found each other." Daniel turned and held out his hand to Ethan. "Come here, son." Ethan walked forward slowly. He climbed onto the bed and curled up next to his mother, his small body pressed against hers. Grace wrapped her arm around him and looked at Daniel with eyes full of pain and hope and love. "We're together now. Finally. And I'm never leaving again." Daniel stood up, his jaw set with determination. "Grace, you're sick. I know about the kidney failure. I know about everything. And I'm going to fix it." "Daniel, you can't." "I can, and I will. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. What's the point of all of it if I can't save the woman I love?" Grace started crying harder. "I don't want your money. I just wanted you to come back." "I'm back, and I'm not going anywhere." Daniel pulled out his phone. "The doctors are on their way. We're going to get you stable, and then we're going to find you a kidney. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, we're going to save your life." Maya stepped forward. "Daniel, there's something else you should know." "What?" Maya glanced at Grace, then back at Daniel. "I promised Grace that if something happened to her, I would take care of Ethan. Raise him as my own." Daniel looked at her for a long moment. "You barely know them. Why would you make that promise?" "Because someone had to." Maya's chin lifted. "Because your son needed to know he wouldn't be alone. Because kindness doesn't require a reason." Daniel's expression softened. "You've been taking care of them, feeding them, sheltering them. It's nothing. It's everything." Daniel walked over to Maya and took her hands. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to thank me. Just save Grace, that's all the thanks I need." A knock at the door interrupted them. Daniel's security team entered, followed by a distinguished-looking man carrying a medical bag. "Mr. Carter, I'm Dr. Reynolds. I was told you have a patient who needs immediate attention." "She's over here." Daniel led him to Grace. "Kidney failure, stage 5. She hasn't had dialysis in months." Dr. Reynolds examined Grace quickly and efficiently. His face grew more serious with each passing minute. "She needs to be hospitalized immediately," he said finally. "Her toxin levels are critical. Without dialysis in the next few hours, she's going to go into septic shock." "Then get her to a hospital." "The nearest hospital with an available dialysis unit is Houston Methodist. I've already called ahead. They're expecting us." "Then let's go." Within minutes, Grace was being carried out of the apartment on a stretcher. Ethan refused to leave her side, so Maya carried him down the stairs, his arms wrapped tight around her neck. "Is Mama going to die?" he whispered in her ear. Maya wanted to lie. She wanted to tell him everything would be fine, but she respected him too much for that. "Your daddy is going to do everything he can to save her," she said, "and he has a lot of power to do that." "But is she going to die?" Maya held him tighter. "I don't know, baby. But I know this, she's not alone anymore. None of us are." They loaded into the SUV and followed the ambulance to the hospital. The ride felt endless. Ethan sat in Daniel's lap, something neither of them had planned but both of them needed. "Are you really my daddy?" Ethan asked quietly. "I really am." "Why do you have so many cars?" "Because I have a lot of money." "Are you going to use your money to help Mama?" "Every penny of it if I have to." Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I tried to get money to help her. I walked around every day asking people, but nobody would give me anything." Daniel felt his heart shatter. "You did that every day." "Someone had to. Mama couldn't work anymore. I was the only one who could try." Daniel pulled his son closer. "You're the bravest person I've ever met, Ethan. You know that." "I'm not brave. I was scared all the time." "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you keep going even when you are." Daniel kissed the top of his head. "And you kept going. You took care of your mother when she couldn't take care of herself. That's more than most adults could do." Ethan looked up at him with those serious eyes. "Are you going to stay this time?" "Forever." "You promise?" "I promise. Cross my heart." They arrived at the hospital. Grace was rushed into the emergency department. Daniel tried to follow, but a nurse stopped him. "Sir, you can't go back there. You need to wait here." "That's the mother of my child. I'm not waiting anywhere." "Sir, I understand, but—" "Do you know who I am?" Daniel's voice was cold. "I'm Daniel Carter. In the next hour, I'm going to write this hospital a check for $5 million. Now let me through, or I'll buy this entire building and fire everyone in it." The nurse's eyes went wide. She stepped aside. Daniel pushed through the doors and followed the gurney carrying Grace. The doctors were already working, hooking her up to machines taking blood samples, starting IV lines. "She's coding," someone shouted. Daniel's world stopped. He watched as the medical team surrounded Grace as they started CPR, as they shocked her chest with paddles. He watched her body jerk. He watched the monitors flatline. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." Clear. Another shock. Another flatline. "Come on, Grace," Daniel breathed. "Fight. You have to fight." Clear. A third shock. And then, like a miracle, the monitor beeped, then beeped again. A rhythm. Weak, but present. "We've got her back," the doctor said. "Get her to dialysis now. We don't have time to waste." They wheeled Grace away. Daniel stood frozen in the hallway, his entire body shaking. She had died. For a few seconds, Grace had been dead, and he had almost lost her again. A hand touched his arm. He turned to find Maya standing beside him, Ethan in her arms. "She's okay," Maya said softly. "They got her back." Daniel couldn't speak. He just reached out and pulled both of them into his arms, holding them like they were the only things keeping him anchored to the earth. "I can't lose her," he finally managed to say. "Not after everything. Not after finding her again." "You won't." Maya's voice was firm. "She's a fighter. She's been fighting for 6 years. She's not going to stop now." 4 hours later, Grace was stable. The dialysis had worked. Her toxin levels were dropping. Her color was returning. She was still weak, still critical, but she was alive. Daniel sat beside her bed holding her hand. Ethan was curled up in a chair in the corner asleep. Maya stood by the window watching the city lights flicker in the darkness. "Daniel?" Grace's voice was soft, tired, but clear. "I'm here. I thought I was dying." "You were. Your heart stopped." Grace's eyes filled with tears. "I saw my grandmother. She told me to go back. She said it wasn't my time." Daniel lifted her hand to his lips. She was right. It's not your time. It's our time. Finally. "I'm so tired, Daniel. I've been fighting for so long." "Then let me fight for you. Let me carry this burden. You've carried it alone for 6 years. Let me take over now." Grace looked at him with eyes full of exhaustion and love. "I never stopped loving you, even when I thought you had abandoned us. Even when I hated you for not coming back. I never stopped." "I know, and I never stopped loving you either." "What happens now?" "Now we heal. You get healthy. We find you a kidney. And then—" Daniel paused. "Then we start the life we should have had 7 years ago. And Ethan. He's our son. He's going to have everything he's ever dreamed of. School toys, a real home, 2 parents who love him more than anything." Grace's eyes moved to Maya, still standing by the window. "And what about her?" Daniel followed her gaze. "What about her? She saved us, Daniel. When we had nothing, when everyone else looked away, she saw us. She fed us. She sheltered us. She loved Ethan like her own son." "I know. I owe her more than I can ever repay." "Then repay her. Whatever she needs, whatever she dreams of, give it to her." Daniel nodded slowly. "I will." The next morning, Daniel asked Maya to meet him in the hospital cafeteria. She came reluctantly, leaving Ethan with Grace. "What is this about?" Maya asked, sitting across from him. "I want to thank you." "You already thanked me." "No, I mean really thank you." Daniel leaned forward. "Maya, you saved my family. You had nothing and you gave everything. That kind of kindness, I don't know how to repay it. I don't want repayment." "Too bad. You're getting it anyway." Daniel pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. "Open it." Maya hesitated, then opened the envelope. Inside was a check. When she saw the amount, she nearly dropped it. $1 million. Her voice came out as a squeak. "Daniel, I can't accept this." "You can and you will. But that's not all." He slid another piece of paper across the table. "This is a scholarship. Full ride to any nursing school in the country. Tuition, books, living expenses, everything covered." Maya stared at him. "How did you know I wanted to be a nurse?" "Grace told me. She said you dropped out to take care of your grandmother." Tears began streaming down Maya's face. "Daniel, this is too much. It's not enough." Daniel reached across the table and took her hand. "You gave my family hope when they had none. You showed my son kindness when the world showed him cruelty. You kept Grace alive long enough for me to find her. There is no amount of money that could equal what you've done." Maya looked at the check, then at the scholarship papers, then at Daniel. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Say you'll take this and build the life you deserve." Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "Thank you. Yes." Daniel smiled for the first time in what felt like years. "There's one more thing." "What?" "Your food stand. Maya's kitchen. I want to buy it." "What? Why?" "Because I'm going to turn it into a real restaurant. A beautiful one. And I'm going to put your name on it. And I'm going to make sure it becomes the most successful restaurant in Houston." Maya started laughing through her tears. "You're crazy." "Probably. But I'm also grateful. And when Daniel Carter is grateful, he doesn't do things halfway." 3 days later, Grace was transferred to a private room. She was getting stronger every day. The dialysis was working. Her spirits were lifting. But they all knew dialysis was just a temporary solution. She needed a transplant. "The waiting list is years long," Dr. Reynolds explained during one of his visits. "We can try to expedite it, but even with Mr. Carter's resources, we're looking at months at minimum." "What about a living donor?" Daniel asked. "I'll give her one of my kidneys." Dr. Reynolds shook his head. "I already checked. You're not a match." "Then we'll find someone who is. Test everyone. My staff, my security team, anyone who's willing. I'll pay whatever it takes. We'll start testing immediately, but finding a match isn't easy. It could take time." Time is something we don't have. That night, after everyone else had gone to sleep, Maya sat alone in the hallway. She was thinking about everything that had happened. The food stand, Ethan, Grace, Daniel, the $1 million, the scholarship. Her life had changed completely in a matter of weeks. And yet something was nagging at her. Something she couldn't shake. She pulled out her phone and did something she hadn't thought to do before. She searched for information about kidney donation, eligibility requirements, blood type compatibility, the testing process. The more she read, the more an idea began to form in her mind. An idea that was crazy, reckless, potentially dangerous, but also potentially the answer to everything. The next morning, Maya approached Dr. Reynolds. "I want to be tested," she said. "Tested for what?" "As a kidney donor, for Grace." "Doctor." Reynolds looked surprised. "Ms. Johnson, that's a very serious decision. Are you sure?" "I'm sure. You understand the risks. Kidney donation is major surgery. There can be complications." "I understand. And you know you're not related to Grace. The chances of being a match are—" "I know. But I want to try anyway." Dr. Reynolds studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "All right, I'll schedule the tests for this afternoon." Maya nodded. "Thank you." She didn't tell Daniel, she didn't tell Grace, she didn't tell anyone. Because if she wasn't a match, she didn't want to give them false hope. And if she was, well, she would cross that bridge when she came to it. 2 days later, Dr. Reynolds called her with the results. Maya answered on the first ring. "What did you find?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then Dr. Reynolds spoke, his voice filled with wonder. "Ms. Johnson, I don't know how to explain this. The odds were astronomical, less than 1%. But somehow, against all probability—" Maya's heart was pounding so hard she could barely hear him. "You're a match," Dr. Reynolds said. "A perfect match." Maya stood frozen in the hospital corridor, the phone pressed against her ear. Dr. Reynolds' words echoed in her mind like a bell that wouldn't stop ringing. "A perfect match," she whispered. "How is that possible?" "I've been practicing medicine for 30 years, Dr. Reynolds said. I've never seen anything like this. Unrelated donors matching this perfectly. The statistical probability is almost zero. And yet here we are." Maya leaned against the wall, her legs suddenly weak. "So I can save her. I can actually save Grace's life." "If you're willing to go through with the surgery, yes. You could give her decades more to live." Maya closed her eyes. She thought about Grace lying in that hospital bed. She thought about Ethan, the brave little boy who had stolen her heart. She thought about the promise she had made to take care of him if something happened to his mother. Now she had the power to make sure that something never happened. "I'll do it," Maya said. "Schedule the surgery." "Ms. Johnson, I need you to understand something first. This is major surgery. You'll be in the hospital for several days. Recovery will take weeks. There are risks, real risks. Infection, bleeding, long-term complications." "I understand." "And you're still willing." "Dr. Reynolds, that woman in there saved my soul. She and her son reminded me what kindness means, what family means. If I can give her a chance to live to watch her son grow up to be with the man who's been searching for her for 7 years. Maya's voice cracked. "Then there's no question. None at all." There was silence on the other end of the line. Then Dr. Reynolds spoke, his voice thick with emotion. "You're an extraordinary person, Maya Johnson." "No, I'm just someone who believes kindness should have no limits." She hung up and stood in the hallway for a long moment, gathering her courage. Then she walked back toward Grace's room. Daniel was there, sitting beside the bed, holding Grace's hand. Ethan was curled up at the foot of the bed, his small body pressed against his mother's legs. They looked like a family. A real family reunited after years of separation. Maya hated to interrupt, but they needed to know. "I have something to tell you," she said from the doorway. Daniel looked up. "What is it?" Maya walked into the room and sat down in the chair across from him. She looked at Grace, who was watching her with tired but curious eyes. "I got tested," Maya said, "as a kidney donor." Grace's eyes widened. "You did what?" "I got tested to see if I could give you one of my kidneys." Daniel leaned forward. "Maya, that's incredibly generous, but the chances of an unrelated donor being compatible are, I'm a match." The room went silent. Grace stared at her. Daniel stared at her. Even Ethan lifted his head, sensing that something important was happening. "You're a match," Grace whispered. "A perfect match. Dr. Reynolds said he's never seen anything like it." Grace started crying. Not quiet tears, but deep, wrenching sobs that shook her entire body. "Maya, no. I can't let you do this. It's too much. You've already given us everything." "I haven't given you everything. I've given you food and shelter. But this..." Maya reached out and took Grace's hand. "This is life. Real life. Years and years of watching Ethan grow up. Of being with Daniel. Of living instead of just surviving. But the risks are worth it. You're worth it." Daniel stood up abruptly. He walked to Maya and dropped to his knees in front of her chair. "Why?" he asked, his voice raw. "Why would you do this for someone you barely know?" Maya looked at him with steady eyes. "Because 3 weeks ago, I was a woman with nothing. A failing business. A dream that seemed impossible. A life that felt empty. Then I met a little boy who was begging for food, not for himself, but for his dying mother. And that little boy changed everything." She looked at Ethan, who was watching her with those 2 old eyes. "Your son taught me something, Daniel. He taught me that love doesn't ask for anything in return. That kindness doesn't calculate costs and benefits. That family isn't about blood. It's about showing up. It's about giving what you have even when you have almost nothing." Her voice broke, but she kept going. "I was alone before I met them. Truly alone. And now I have a family. Not because of DNA or marriage certificates, but because of choice. I choose them. I choose to love them. And I choose to give Grace my kidney because that's what family does." Daniel bowed his head. His shoulders shook. This man who had built a billion-dollar empire, who had faced down corporate rivals and crushing setbacks, was crying like a child. "I don't know how to repay this," he said. "You already have. You came back. You found them. You're going to give Grace and Ethan the life they deserve." Maya smiled through her own tears. "That's all the payment I'll ever need." Grace reached out from the bed. Come here, Maya. Please. Maya stood and walked to the bedside. Grace took her hand and pulled her down into a hug. You're my sister, Grace whispered in her ear. I don't care what biology says. You're my sister, from this moment until my last breath. Maya held her tight. And you're mine. The surgery was scheduled for 3 days later. Those 3 days passed in a blur of preparation and emotion. Doctors explained procedures. Nurses took vitals. Lawyers drew up paperwork. Daniel used the time to make arrangements. He bought a house, a beautiful home with enough bedrooms for everyone. He enrolled Ethan in the best private school in Houston. He started the process of renovating Maya's food stand into a real restaurant. You don't have to do all this, Maya told him the night before the surgery. I want to. It's too much. Nothing is too much for the woman who's saving Grace's life. Maya shook her head. I'm not doing this for rewards. I need you to understand that. I know. That's exactly why you deserve them. The morning of the surgery arrived cold and gray. Maya woke up at 4 a.m., unable to sleep. She lay in her hospital bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. A knock at the door. Come in. The door opened, and Ethan slipped inside. He was wearing pajamas and clutching a small teddy bear that Daniel had bought him. Miss Maya, are you awake? I'm awake, baby. What are you doing up so early? Ethan walked to her bedside and climbed up onto the chair. I couldn't sleep. I keep thinking about the surgery. Are you scared? A little. He looked down at his teddy bear. What if something goes wrong? Maya reached out and took his hand. Ethan, look at me. He looked up with those serious eyes. Do you remember what you told me back when you first came to my food stand? You said you had to find food for your mama, that you couldn't go home empty-handed. Do you remember that? Ethan nodded. You were scared then too, but you didn't let the fear stop you. You kept walking. You kept trying. And because you didn't give up, you led me to your mama. You led your daddy to both of you. You saved your family, Ethan. I didn't save anyone. I just asked for help. That's exactly it. Asking for help is one of the bravest things a person can do. And now I'm going to do something brave too. I'm going to go into that operating room and I'm going to give your mama a chance to live. And yes, I'm a little scared, but I'm not going to let the fear stop me. Ethan squeezed her hand tight. You're really brave, Miss Maya. So are you, baby. So are you. They sat together in silence until the nurses came to prepare Maya for surgery. 2 hours later, Maya was wheeled into the operating room. The lights were bright. The doctors and nurses moved with practiced efficiency. Monitors beeped steadily. Dr. Reynolds appeared at her side. Are you ready? Maya took a deep breath. Ready. We're going to take good care of you, both of you. The anesthesiologist placed a mask over her face. Count backward from 10. 10, 9, 8, 7. The world faded to black. The surgery lasted 6 hours. In the waiting room, Daniel paced back and forth like a caged animal. Ethan sat in a chair clutching his teddy bear, watching his father with worried eyes. Daddy, please sit down. You're making me dizzy. Daniel stopped. He looked at his son, and despite everything, he managed a small smile. Sorry, buddy. I'm just worried. About Mama or Miss Maya? Both. Ethan patted the chair next to him. Come sit with me. Mama always said worrying doesn't help anything. It just makes you tired. Daniel sat down beside his son. Ethan leaned against him, and Daniel wrapped his arm around the small boy's shoulders. Your mama is a wise woman. I know. She's the smartest person I know. Ethan paused. Except maybe Miss Maya. They're both pretty smart. Daddy. Yes. When Mama gets better, can we all live together? You, me, Mama, and Miss Maya. Daniel felt his heart swell. Would you like that? Yes. Miss Maya is family. She should be with us. Then that's exactly what we'll do. 3 more hours passed, then 4, then 5. Daniel's phone buzzed constantly with messages from his business partners, his board of directors, his assistants. He ignored them all. Nothing in the world mattered except the 2 women in those operating rooms. Finally, at 2:47 p.m., the doors opened. Dr. Reynolds walked out, still wearing his surgical scrubs. His face was tired but calm. Daniel was on his feet instantly. "How are they?" Dr. Reynolds smiled. "The surgery was a complete success. Both patients are stable. Grace's body is already accepting the kidney. The initial indicators are better than we could have hoped." Daniel felt his knees go weak. He grabbed the back of a chair to steady himself. "They're okay. They're both okay. They're both going to be fine, Mr. Carter. It's going to take time to recover, but they're going to be fine." Ethan jumped up from his chair. "Can I see Mama?" "She's still in recovery, but you can see her in about an hour." Dr. Reynolds ruffled the boy's hair. "Your mama is a fighter, young man, and your friend Maya is something special. What she did today? Most people would never even consider it." Daniel shook the doctor's hand. "Thank you. Thank you for everything. Don't thank me. Thank Maya. She's the real hero here." 1 hour later, Daniel and Ethan stood in Grace's recovery room. She was pale, connected to monitors and IV lines, but her eyes were open and clear. "Hey," she whispered. "Hey yourself." Daniel bent down and kissed her forehead. "You scared me half to death." "I'm tough. You know that." Ethan climbed carefully onto the edge of the bed. "Mama, are you okay?" "I'm better than okay, baby. I'm going to get well. Really well." Grace looked at Daniel. "How's Maya?" "Still recovering, but the doctors say she's doing great." Grace closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, tears were sliding down her cheeks. "She gave me part of herself. Literally gave me part of her body. How do I ever repay something like that?" "By living," Daniel said. "By living a full, happy life. That's what she wants. That's why she did it." Grace nodded slowly. "I want to see her. As soon as I can, I want to see her." "You will. I promise." 2 days later, Maya was well enough to receive visitors. Daniel pushed Grace's wheelchair into Maya's room. Ethan walked beside them, carrying a bouquet of flowers he had picked out himself. Maya was sitting up in bed, still pale and tired, but smiling. When she saw them, her smile widened. "Look who's mobile," she said to Grace. "Look who's awake," Grace replied. "How are you feeling?" "Like someone took out one of my organs." "Oh, wait, they did." Everyone laughed and the tension in the room dissolved. Ethan walked forward and placed the flowers on Maya's bedside table. "These are for you, Miss Maya. I picked them myself." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "They're beautiful, baby. Thank you." Ethan climbed onto the bed, careful not to jostle her, and curled up at her side, just like he used to curl up with his mother. "I'm glad you're okay," he whispered. "I was really worried. I'm okay. And your mama is going to be okay too. We're all going to be okay." Grace wheeled herself closer. She reached out and took Maya's hand. "I don't know what to say. Thank you doesn't seem like enough." "Then don't say anything. Just get better. That's all I want." "Maya, I need you to know something." Grace's voice was serious. "You're not just a friend to me. You're not just someone who helped us. You're family. Real family. And when we get out of this hospital, you're coming home with us." Maya blinked. "What?" "The house Daniel bought. It has 5 bedrooms. One for me and Daniel, one for Ethan, and one for you." "Grace, I can't." "Yes, you can. And you will." Grace squeezed her hand. "Maya, you gave me your kidney. The least I can do is give you a home." Daniel stepped forward. "She's right, Maya. We talked about it. Ethan wants you there. Grace wants you there. I want you there. We're a family now. All of us." Maya looked at each of them in turn. Daniel, the man who had crossed an ocean of time to find the woman he loved. Grace, the woman who had survived against impossible odds. Ethan, the brave little boy who had brought them all together. Her family. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." Ethan threw his arms around her neck. "You're really coming home with us." "I'm really coming home with you. Forever." Maya smiled through her tears. Forever. The weeks that followed were filled with healing and hope. Grace grew stronger every day. The new kidney was functioning perfectly. Her color returned. Her energy returned. Her smile, which had been lost for so long, returned brightest of all. Maya recovered from the surgery faster than expected. The doctors were amazed at her resilience. What they didn't understand was that Maya had spent her whole life being resilient. This was just one more challenge, and she had never been one to back down from a challenge. Daniel worked from home, refusing to leave Grace's side for more than a few hours at a time. His company practically ran itself at this point, and he had excellent people in place. For the first time in his life, work was not his priority. His family was. 1 month after the surgery, they all moved into the new house together. It was beautiful, spacious, and full of light. But more than that, it was full of love. Ethan started school, and for the first time in his life, he had friends his own age. He joined the soccer team. He got straight A's. He came home every day with stories about his adventures and his parents, and Maya listened to every single one. "Miss Maya, guess what happened today?" "What happened, baby?" "Tommy said his dad is a doctor." And I said my dad is a businessman. And then he said, "What does your mom do?" And I said, "My mom got really sick, but then my Aunt Maya gave her a kidney, and now she's all better." Maya laughed. "What did Tommy say to that?" "He said, 'What's a kidney?' And I had to explain it to him. He didn't know anything about organs." "Well, now he does, thanks to you." Ethan beamed. "I'm going to be a doctor when I grow up, so I can help people like you helped my mama." Maya pulled him into a hug. "You can be anything you want to be, Ethan. Anything at all." 2 months after the surgery, Maya's restaurant opened. Daniel had kept his promise. The small food stand was gone, replaced by a beautiful building with Maya's name in lights above the door. Maya's Kitchen. Exactly what the old sign had said, but now it was real. Now it was everything she had ever dreamed of. The opening night was packed. Celebrities, business people, regular folks from the neighborhood. Everyone wanted to see the restaurant that the billionaire had built for the woman who saved his wife's life. Maya stood at the entrance greeting guests, her heart so full she thought it might burst. Grace appeared at her side. "How does it feel?" "Unreal. Completely unreal." "You deserve this, Maya. Every bit of it." "I didn't do any of this for rewards." "I know. That's exactly why you got them." Daniel joined them, Ethan on his shoulders. "The food is incredible, Maya. Even better than I remembered." "It's my grandmother's recipes. She's the one who deserves the credit." "She's looking down right now," Grace said softly. "And she's so proud of you." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "You think so?" "I know so." The restaurant was a massive success. Within 3 months, it was the hottest reservation in Houston. Within 6 months, food critics were calling it one of the best restaurants in Texas. Within a year, Maya was on the cover of culinary magazines, being hailed as a rising star in the restaurant industry. But the success didn't change her. She still worked in the kitchen every day. She still greeted her regular customers by name. She still made sure there was always food available for anyone who couldn't afford to pay. "You know you don't have to do that," Daniel told her one evening. "The free meals, it costs you money." "I know I don't have to. I want to." "Why?" Maya smiled. "Because one free meal can change someone's life. I know that better than anyone." Meanwhile, Maya started nursing school. It was hard balancing classes with the restaurant and family life, but she had never been afraid of hard work. She graduated 2 years later at the top of her class. The entire family was there to watch her walk across the stage. "I'm so proud of you," Grace said afterward, hugging her tight. "I couldn't have done it without all of you." "Yes, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to." That night, they all gathered around the dinner table in their beautiful home. Daniel, Grace, Ethan, and Maya, family. Daniel raised his glass. "I want to make a toast." Everyone looked at him expectantly. 3 years ago, I was the richest man I knew, and the most miserable. I had everything money could buy, and nothing that actually mattered. Then I came back to Houston, looking for a woman I had lost. And I found so much more than I ever expected. He looked at Grace. "I found the love of my life still fighting, still surviving, still beautiful, after everything she had been through." He looked at Ethan. "I found a son who taught me what real bravery looks like. A boy who carried his family on his shoulders when he should have been playing with toys and going to school." He looked at Maya. "And I found a sister, a woman with nothing who gave everything, a woman who reminded me that kindness is the most powerful force in the world." His voice cracked, but he kept going. "This family wasn't built by blood. It was built by choice, by love, by showing up for each other when it mattered most. And I thank God every single day that I get to be part of it." He raised his glass higher. "To family, the one we choose." "To family," everyone echoed. They drank together, and the warmth of belonging filled the room. Later that night, after Ethan was in bed and Daniel and Grace had retired to their room, Maya stood on the back porch, looking up at the stars. She thought about her grandmother, about the lessons Rose had taught her, about kindness without conditions, about giving what you have, even when you have almost nothing. "I did it, Grandma," she whispered. "I became the person you wanted me to be." The stars twinkled back at her, and Maya could almost hear her grandmother's voice on the wind. "I know, baby girl. I always knew you would." Maya smiled and went back inside. 5 years later, on a warm summer evening, they all gathered in the backyard for Ethan's 11th birthday party. The yard was full of children running and laughing. Parents stood in clusters chatting and watching their kids play. The smell of barbecue drifted from the grill where Daniel was cooking. Grace sat in a lawn chair, healthy and radiant, watching her son with tears of joy in her eyes. 5 years ago, she had been dying in an abandoned warehouse. Now she was surrounded by love, by family, by life. Maya came and sat beside her. "What are you thinking about? How different everything is. How much has changed. Good changes. The best changes." Grace took Maya's hand. "Thank you, Maya. I know I've said it 1,000 times, but thank you. For everything. You don't have to thank me anymore. We're family. This is what family does. I know. But I'll never stop being grateful." Ethan ran over breathless and grinning. "Mama, Miss Maya, come see my birthday cake. Dad got me one shaped like a soccer ball." "We're coming, baby." Grace stood up strong and steady on her feet. "Let's go see this soccer ball cake." They walked together across the yard, mother and sister, toward the table where Daniel was setting up candles. The cake was exactly as Ethan had described, a perfect soccer ball with 11 candles waiting to be lit. "Make a wish, buddy," Daniel said as he struck a match. Ethan closed his eyes for a long moment. Then he opened them and blew out all the candles in one breath. Everyone cheered. "What did you wish for?" Grace asked. Ethan grinned. "I can't tell you. Then it won't come true." Fair enough. Later, after the cake was eaten, and the presents were opened, and the guests had gone home, Ethan found Maya sitting alone on the porch swing. "Miss Maya." "Yes, baby." "I lied before, about my wish." Maya raised an eyebrow. "You did?" "Yeah." Ethan climbed onto the swing beside her. "I didn't wish for anything." "You didn't?" "No, because I already have everything I want." He leaned against her shoulder. I have a mama who's healthy. I have a daddy who loves me. I have the best Aunt Maya in the world. I have a real home and real friends and a real life. He looked up at her with those serious eyes, the same eyes that had looked at her from across a food stand counter so many years ago. What else could I wish for? Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks. She pulled Ethan into a hug and held him tight. Nothing, baby. Absolutely nothing. They sat together on the swing as the sun set behind the trees, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. And Maya understood something she had always known, but had never put into words. Kindness doesn't ask for rewards. It doesn't calculate costs or measure returns. It simply gives freely and completely expecting nothing in return. But here's the secret that the universe knows. When you give kindness without expecting anything back, the universe has a way of returning it to you 1,000-fold. Not always in the ways you expect, not always when you expect it, but always, always, always. Maya had given a hungry boy a plate of food on a random afternoon. She hadn't expected anything in return. She had just seen someone in need and decided to help. And that single act of kindness had led her to a family, to love, to a life she never could have imagined. From the dusty counter of a struggling food stand to the porch of a beautiful home filled with laughter and love, all because she had chosen to be kind. So remember this as you go about your life. You never know whose world you might change with a single act of compassion. You never know whose life you might save with a moment of generosity. The hungry boy at your door might lead you to your family. The stranger who needs help might become your sister. The kindness you give today might come back to you in ways you cannot possibly imagine. So give it freely. Give it without conditions. Give it even when you have almost nothing to give. Because kindness is never wasted. It is the seed that grows into miracles. And miracles, as this story has shown, are more common than we think. They just require someone brave enough to plant the first seed.